Okay, so we're on a whole new unit, you guys. Whole new unit. I love getting to new units because it's like we're just moving along. This unit is kind of weird date wise. Look at the dates right here. It's called Absolutism and the Enlightenment. Absolutism is a form of government, and then Enlightenment is like all of these new philosophical ideas that are a direct result to absolute governments. Okay, that being said, look at the dates. This doesn't really fit into one of our 1450 to 1750 or 1750 to 1800 time areas. That's because I changed this from the way College Board says to do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. However, some of you do like follow along with College Board stuff, like the books and the what is it called, like the study guides and stuff, and you're gonna find that absolutism is out of order. I promise it's okay. All right. Um, absolutism, it's a form of government. All right, and technically absolutism is considered kind of like the 1600s. However, there are two kings that aren't officially absolute rulers, but you can definitely make the argument that they are. Okay, Charles V, and then of Spain, and then you have Ivan IV of France. What? Ivan IV of Russia. You are going to have a DBQ over Peter the Great. I'm not teaching him at all. You're going to learn everything you need to know about this absolute ruler Peter the Great of Russia through a DBQ. All right. That being said, we kind of need to back up a little bit if we're going to get Charles V here, King of Spain, and like everything else, and then Ivan IV, King of Russia. So this is kind of a weird like bridge time period, I guess. That's kind of a bridge from the 1450 1750 section and then the 1750 to 1900 section. All right, so it's kind of weird. But the reason I do that, like I said, I think it's a lot easier for you to understand the philosophy, the Enlightenment ideas, these ideas, if you've just had absolutism. Because again, the Enlightenment is a direct result of how these kings are ruling. I'm gonna scoot my chair up. It's gonna be really loud because it's a metal chair. Sorry. Okay, so there we go. That being said, here's how the order is gonna go. We will start with, like I said, Charles V and Ivan IV in Spain and Russia, respectively. Then we will talk about the strongest example of absolute rule, King Louis XIV of France. If you want to see how absolutism is supposed to look, just look at Louis. Okay. Then we're going to go to England. Charles I and even James II, they're going to try really, really hard to be absolute rulers. And they're going to fail miserably. They're going to try really, really hard. They want to have total control. There's a reason that England can't ever be absolute. So we'll look at that whole drama, okay? Then we'll get into the Enlightenment. Again, the Enlightenment is just all of these philosophical ideas about governments, about economics, about society, and it is all a direct result of how these kings over here on the left side are ruling, okay? We will start with the English Enlightenment thinkers like John Locke, Thomas Hobbes, here we go, Hobbes, Locke, the economist Adam Smith, the feminist, sort of, Mary Wollstonecraft. And then we'll get into the French philosophers, Montesquieu, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Voltaire, those guys. Okay. So let's get started. I should say this before we get started. This is a short unit. I didn't really move myself, did I? This is a short unit, okay? you don't have a lot on Canvas. You have some things that you kind of already know, like, I can't even think, abolitionism. You sure already know what that is. Feminism. You probably already know what that is. Let's see, conservatism and liberalism. You may not exactly know what that is, but I know you've heard it with government stuff, politics. And then you probably have Zionism, which you haven't heard of, but that's it, because this is a short little unit. And then, of course, you have your Peter the Great DBQ. So, overview finished. I was looking at my time. Okay, let's get started with absolutism. All right. Absolutism is a form of government. All right. It's where you have a king who has complete control. It should be easy to remember. It's where you have a king who has absolute power every year. Every year, every class I teach. When I say that, somebody in class will go, oh, like a dictatorship. No. We haven't really gotten to dictatorships yet. However, whenever you have a dictatorship, you have somebody who just takes power, who may not really have the legal right to do it. All right, they just take power, and yes, if they have total control, that's not the same as absolute control, because they're not a king. The difference between absolutism and dictatorships, especially totalitarian dictatorships, okay? In absolutism, you have a king or a queen, and the rule is hereditary, all right? Hereditary rule. Grandson, son, what? Grandfather, son, grandson, great grandson. It's hereditary rule. That is one loud bird. In a dictatorship, you don't have a king. You have somebody who took power. Okay? I already know what you're thinking. What about North Korea? I've heard it for the last couple of years. We call North Korea a dictatorship. But who took over after his father? Once you go from taking power when you're a dictator and then hereditary rule, technically, if you want to get real specific, it's not technically a dictatorship anymore. Does it really matter? No. But technically, yeah, we're looking at a monarchy. If it's hereditary rule, it's a monarchy. Okay. So again, you could start out with a dictatorship, and then if you give the power to your kid, it's no longer a dictatorship, it's now monarchy. Okay. Okay. What kind of sets these rulers apart? Okay. Is they outwardly claim something called, where is it? Here it is. Something called divine right. Okay, what is divine? When you eat a piece of chocolate cake and you're like, oh, this is divine. What does that even mean? I mean, it means it's really good, right? Or when you see, I don't know, a really pretty dress or painting, or you hear an amazing song and people say, oh, it's divine. That means it's really awesome, but what does it really mean? That bird is so loud. Okay, you probably can't even hear him. Okay, divine means godly. Do you hear this? There's some bird somewhere repeating him. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So anyway, he's laughing. He's like, haha, you start teaching again, and I made my little sound. Divine means godly. All right. Divine right is this idea that you have the right to rule your country because God said so. Okay, wait. Haven't kings been declaring that from like the beginning of time? Except they're not using this term. This is like a new term at this time. Like they're saying I have the divine right of rule. You're going to see quotes in some of your documents that you do at the beginning of classes, or of each class, that say I have the divine right. I have been given the divine right. They're not necessarily using that phrase until about now. Okay. That being said, think about this. If God has chosen you to be king, he chose you because he wants you to do something. Okay. So, in theory, you should have a very close relationship to God, and you should be like a hardcore Christian, right? Some of these people were. Some of these people, they're going to use divine right just to do whatever they want. Y'all, there's always going to be the people who are really honest and the people who are really corrupt. Okie dokie, we will see both. That being said, if God chose you, aren't you passing laws that God wants passed? Well, that's the idea. If you pass a law, it's because God said, King Sherilyn, pass this law. And I'm like, yes, sir. And then I pass the law. Okay. That's the idea. That's supposed to be what's happening. So if you break that law, are you just breaking a law against your king? Or are you going against God? Okay, look at these dates. Look. The 95 Theses is 1517. Okay. All of the drama with the Lutheran Church and the Catholic Church and the Holy Roman Empire really starts getting going. Whatever. Really gets going in like the 1520s, the peasant revolts and all that kind of stuff. All right. Look where we're at. Look at this king right here. Look at Charles V. Look at his dates. Charles V is king while Martin Luther is pulling away from the Catholic Church. Okay. I'd have to look at the dates specifically, but I'm pretty sure he's king when, or he straddles that time period when Henry VIII is doing his thing. Okay, he's like in the 1550s-ish. So Charles V, that's what's happening at this time. In fact, Charles V declares Martin Luther a bad boy, like writes it down, like he's in trouble for going against the Catholic Church. So if you go against your king, okay, and your king is passing laws that God wants passed, guys, we're heading to the witch trials in the Germanys. If you're not with God, you're with someone else. And it's not a good time to be with someone else. Remember the witch trials, 1600s? Y'all, the 30 Years' War, the big war between the Catholics and the Protestants. Ugh. So just understand, if you go against God in this time period, yikes. So if you go against someone who claims that he has been told by God what to do, yikes. Charles V. Okay, Charles V, it gets a little bit confusing if you let it, okay? Because Charles V is King Charles I in Spain. You're like, okay, then why is he Charles V? Well, look right here. He's a king of Spain. That's cool. He's going to be made the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, HRE. Impressive. He's going to have the Spanish Netherlands. He's going to have Burgundy, part of like basically France-ish. It's not all of France. It's a piece. Okay. He's going to have hardcore influence in Portugal. He doesn't own it. Influence. He owns. I'm trying to think. New Spain. Look at the dates. 1492. Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Well, look where we're at. Well, he has New Spain. That's Spain in the Americas. Okay. He also has control of Austria. That's a crap load of stuff. When I show you the map that he controls, I mean, it's just like, it's jaw dropping. Oh, that's funny. And you don't even know why. That's jaw dropping. Poor Charles. Okay, y'all, I really love Charles. I'm not making fun of him, but that was funny. But it's not to you because you don't understand. Okay. Before we get anywhere, let's look at Charles. Okay. Dang, that was good, you guys. I wish I had been around a bunch of historians because they would have laughed. Okay, so we have Castile and Aragon, okay? And remember, they are now one kingdom, Spain. Remember? King, well, I'm gonna say King Isabella, just kidding. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, remember them? They're the ones that unite Spain. He's from Aragon, she's Castilian. Their marriage unites and creates Spain. Okay? Okay. They're also, by the way, the ones who send Columbus. Do you remember? Okay. Okay, so that being said, their daughter, her name is Joanna. She's a little crazy. In fact, historically speaking, we tend to call her Mad Queen Joanna. It looks like Joanna in English. The spelling looks like Joanna. Is her name on there? Right here. Down here at the very bottom. I don't know if you can see it very well. But Mad Queen Joanna, she was crazy. I'm not being mean about her. She's crazy. I don't have time to go into it, but if you want to know some of her crazy, come in at tutorials and we'll sit and talk. She's crazy. We call her mad because she's not mad. She's mad like the Mad Hatter. She's crazy. That being said, her son is Charles V. Okay, so we have Isabella and Ferdinand, grandparents, Queen Joanna, his mother, and then Charles V. That's called context, you guys, so you can see where we're at. Context, DBQ, context. Okay, Charles V. Charles V's mom is Joanna. Charles V's father's, I don't know, I don't remember his name, Bob. It doesn't really matter. But what matters is his dad is his mom's cousin, first cousin. So think about your cousin. Ew. This family right here, it's called the Habsburgs. I don't think I put that in your notes. Yeah, I didn't. You'll probably see it on a picture that I show you in a minute. I think it's on the picture of the map. But this family right here is called the Habsburgs. So Charles Habsburg, okay? They inbreed. It kind of shouldn't be a big surprise that that was happening among the royalty. I mean, I know I've mentioned it in class before, but they do big time. Maybe that's why Queen Joanna was a little crazy. I don't know. Not really, not really. But there's a lot of inbreeding going on. Okay. And one of the things that historians think is a result of this family inbreeding is his jaw. That's why I said it was jaw dropping. Okay. Anyway, look at his jaw. Now, again, I actually love Charles V. He's not perfect, but I like him. But so I'm not being mean. He's definitely in my top 10. I'm not being mean, but look at his jaw. He has what today people call the Habsburg jaw. It's like his bottom jaw is too big. It's too big. I can't remember if Charles II is his grandson or what, but there's another king coming named Charles II. His jaw's even bigger. In fact, Charles II had a hard time eating. His teeth didn't like match up. He had a hard time talking. Okay, we're not talking an underlap. Oh my gosh, we're not talking an underbite like what my dogs have, my Pekingese dogs. We're talking an underbite that's massive. Look, there's been a lot of paintings of Charles V. Let me move my big old head. Oh man, I'll just put it here. Just so you can see some of these pictures. You see his, I mean, they're making fun of him here, okay? But you see his elongated jaw. Oh, this is a great one. Here's another one. Oh, my head's in the way. Why is my picture so big? How conceited am I, you guys? Okay, here he is, here. Look at this jaw. Now, again, it's probably like a little bit too long in these pictures. This is probably a pretty good representation of what it was really like. Charles II, I wonder if I can, oh, this is a famous one. You'll see a lot of him right here. I figured I would find a Charles II picture here, but let me do this real fast, just so that you can see it. Charles II, Spain, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Because again, Charles II was just massive, bless his heart. He had problems like talking, and yep, here we go. He had problems talking and stuff because of his jaw, talking and eating. Isn't that sad? Here he is as a child. Okay, so anyway, that's why it was funny whenever I said, you know, what he owns is jaw dropping. It really was funny, but I really didn't plan it, which is even funnier. Okay, that being said, Charles V becomes King of Spain, okay, when he's 19, 18, 19? I think he's 19. He's not 20 yet, okay, so he's old teenager, okay? But he becomes King of Spain, and his title as King of Spain is Charles I. However, when he becomes Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, he's the fifth Charles there. So that's why it kind of gets a little bit confusing sometimes. Kids will be like, wait, are we talking Charles I or Charles V? It's the same. And that's where it gets a little bit confusing, okay? So just be aware. That being said, look at what he owns in Europe. Okay, look. This right here is Spain, Castile and Aragon, and then Aragon comes out this way. Okie dokie. Because of his parents, and everybody's inbreeding, he's also going to end up owning, this is his actual kingdom, okay? I think that's actually where he's born. This is what we call the Spanish Netherlands often, okay? And these dates here, this is when, you know, I think this is when he lost it. Yeah. Guys, look at this. This is crazy. Look at this picture. This shows you what he owns in the whole world. This is his European holdings. Basically, we have that southern part of Italy here, okay? We have Spain and the islands in the Mediterranean. We have the Spanish Netherlands, Austria, and the Holy Roman Empire too, but whatever, the Holy Roman Empire and Austria here. And then we have like Burgundy and stuff here. These are some of their colonies in Africa that they have. This is the Philippines that they have. That'll get taken away later by us. And then look at New Spain. So look at this land that Charles V owns. Holy cow. And he owns it absolutely. He definitely declares divine right. Make my thing bigger. Here we go. And there is an issue that he starts having, partially because of the Protestant Reformation. Okay. To control that much land. Okay. Now, to control this much land, you have to be kind of everywhere, because today it's easy for somebody to own this much land. They just get on the internet or they just get on the phone or whatever, but you can't do that back then. Okay. If somebody up here in the Spanish Netherlands needs him, well, he leaves and goes up there. And then if he needs to be down here, he's down here. And then if he needs to be in, okay, so he's everywhere, bless his heart. This is also, like I said, the same time as you have the Holy Roman Empire going crazy because of Lutheranism. All right, the Protestant Reformation is starting in his area. He's trying to control everything and everybody, and it's not working because there's so many Protestant groups breaking away from the Catholic Church. Well, he's a hardcore Catholic, and he really does believe that God chose him. And he's thinking, maybe God chose me to calm all of this, to stop all of this. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But he does have another empire. I just looked down and saw empire. He does have another issue. The issue is this. Look right here. Remember the Ottoman Empire? Remember how the Ottoman Empire pushed all the way up to, I told you earlier, Vienna, Austria? Guys, the Ottoman Empire is pushing. They're trying to take over more land this way. They're trying to get more into Europe. Well, Charles V and his people are going to constantly be fighting the Ottoman Empire. Constantly. If you're European, you're a European king, okay? At this time, there's not a lot of options for where you control land. Look, if you're a European king at this time, you're Holy Roman Empire, you're Portugal, you're part of Italy, or you're French. If you're the king of France right now, are you concerned? Why? Because your answer should have been yes. Why are you concerned? Charles V owns this over here, and he owns this over here. He also owns most of the islands down here. You're completely surrounded. How easy would it be for him to send troops from both sides and from the south and just vroom, 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 take you over? Okay, France is fully aware of that. So France does something shocking. Do you need buy? Okay. France does something shocking to the rest of Christendom. France goes to the Ottoman Empire. Say, hey, what kind of help if you continue doing this? Because if all of a sudden this war here stops where you're trying to attack and Charles V has a moment of peace, he might take us. Did I put this in your notes? I did. Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay. So they say, hey, keep this up. Yeah. But we're going to tell you a secret. why don't you just attack Spain from the south, from Africa? Ooh, France, whose side are you on? France is hardcore Catholic too. Hardcore Catholic. And they just kind of helped out the Ottoman Empire. Okay, the Ottoman Empire is not going to take over Spain. They're going to get a little bit of a foothold again in Granada down here. Okay, they're going to take parts over here. Okay, but it's not like they take over. They don't. But do you see that this is a big thing? Wow, for once, two different religions working together against one common enemy. Charles V and whoever the king is in France, it's a very sticky relationship. Sometimes they trust each other, sometimes not so much. Okay, so it's just a very fine line whether they're like friends one day or enemies the next. Yeah. That being said, Charles V rules for a while, and then he's like, I'm done. I've had total control of an empire this big for long enough, and I am done. He abdicates. Do you remember what abdicate means when we talked about like Richard the Lionheart talking about that? Abdicate is when you willfully give up being king or queen or whatever. Okay. Someone very famous in 2020 just abdicated any chances of being king ever in the future of England. Have you heard this story? They're moving to Canada. Um, you give up. You give up your royalty. You say, I don't want to be king anymore. I'm done. Charles V has a son who's already of age. He's already ready to be king. So he gives up the crown. I don't even remember his son's name, but gives it to his son, and then it's Philip. Right? You're looking at me like, oh, you're the teacher. Yeah. You can't remember everything without looking it up sometimes. I think it's Philip. I was so right. Do you remember Philip? King Philip had some issues with Queen Elizabeth, the Spanish Armada. Yeah, that's him. That's what I thought. His daughter. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, no, no, no. Wrong person. Hold on. Let's look at her family tree. You're like, what are you doing, miss? What are you doing? Uh, so her sister. So she's the. I suck at family tree stuff. You'd think I'd be good at it. Do you remember Catherine of Aragon, who married Henry VIII? Yeah. She's the sister of Joanna, right? Siblings. Sister of Joanna. So if she's the sister of Joanna, she's the aunt of Charles V. I think. I think that's the relationship. She's the sister of Joanna, and Joanna's his mother. So she's the aunt. Okay, there we go. Isn't that weird that I suck so much at it when I do like royalty succession all the time? I do though. So anyway, I was just trying to get context for you. So anyway, he gives his crown away to Philip II. Guys, he's gonna go to a monastery. Hardcore Catholic. He goes to a monastery and he's there for like I don't remember, maybe a year-ish, and then he dies. So it's like he was just like, too much. I'm done. I'm finished. He had a lot of drama in his personal life too, but again, I don't have time to deal with it. Um, so if you want to know, come see me in Twirls. Or you know what? Look it up. You're a college student now. Yeah, look that sucker up. But yeah, or we can talk about it in tutorials because it's just fun. Okay. Our next ruler. Ah! Look at that picture. That's some bad art. But I really love him. I know. I know. I know. He has a nickname. It's just terrible. But I like him. His name is Ivan the Fourth, and we will deal with him next.